Hey guys, welcome back. Well, let's do a little follow-up on how the outdoor boiler's doing here. So it's been, I don't know, 2-3 days since the big cool down water issue, not burning, So it's been burning phenomenal. Good coal bed, it's burning great. There must have been a little miscommunication on why there was all this water on the ground, and did it overheat, did it not? Well, it didn't overheat. It just burned out completely. I must have underloaded it, not anticipating how cold it was that night. So all the original water that was dripping was from one of my fittings. Sorry, the stove is running. One of my fittings on the stove. So all the fittings I've used are all the shark bite fittings. And to my knowledge, I didn't think there'd be a big problem using those on a stove or on an application like this as far as the heat temperature change, I guess you could say. So this stove has been up, we'll just say on average 180 degrees for the last, we'll just say 16 months, give or take. At all times. I don't think I've ever let it get down below 140, except for the other day when it was down to it was down to 70 some degrees when I came out here. Completely burned out. And what happened was this fitting here was leaking enough to a point where it was dripping down and all the concrete was wet. I mean, it was a pretty good trickle. And the only reason I could fathom that why it was doing that, it was because, you know, obviously when the PEX heats up, it swells a little bit. That, you know, that's its normal state, its normal, you know, size, I guess you could call it. And then when it shrunk down virtually less than 100 degrees, you know, where the fitting is, where the teeth are in the shark bite, it just created a gap and it leaks. That's the only thing I could think of, which is weird though, because not every fitting was leaking, to my knowledge. I had a couple other ones. One right off the heat exchanger on the snow melt was dripping like it was freaking wide open. One off of my thermal storage was leaking. I don't know about the other garage. I didn't go in there, didn't really want to see it. So that's why I had the original water on the ground. As soon as I got the fire going in there, obviously the turbulators are in the back. That's where the hot gases go up, and that heats the water right there initially. And as soon as that hot water started flowing, or the hotter water, the water stopped immediately from dripping. Because that PEX, you know, swelled back up and it went right back to normal. So in a future video here, I'm going to remedy not all the fittings, for sure the ones I know are leaking right off the get-go. Because I actually started making a video yesterday operating the snow melt for the first time, and as soon as I did that, the fitting that was leaking when this thing got cold because of the heat transfer started dripping immediately. So I'm going to address the ones that get extremely cold or lose a lot of temperature when the snow melt's running. For now, I'm going to fix all those to, what do they call them? They're compression fittings or whatever they're called. So I'm going to change that eventually here shortly. I'm going to try to get it all done tonight. I'm not sure. So I bought all those fittings yesterday, and the tools to do it. I've never done that before, but it looks pretty simple. So on another note, I finally got the HeatMaster parts here from HeatMaster themselves. So came with all this insulation. It's pretty thick. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do with all this, but so let's just take a look. This might go for the door, but that's different than what my door is now. So I'm not sure. Mostly I haven't really looked at what I all got here. There's a bunch of the small pieces. I'm sure a lot of this was just packing material, I hope. It's nice insulation though. So this, I'm assuming, is for the back top damper plate on the back. This was on there originally with some insulation. So I guess I'm gonna have to build it myself, which is fine. I don't think that'll be too hard. So that'll be a video in itself whenever I attempt to do that. Another small piece. The bolts he sent me, he said he was going to send me a bunch of them. So they just look like standard bolts. This is for the bolt that busted off inside on the plate. So I'm going to, one of these days, drill that out, which will probably be pretty shortly here because I want to get that remedied. Gasket rope for the front door. So I'm glad they sent me that. I'm going to put that on. Some mortar for the brick on the bottom of the stove. Because I have a nice hairline crack for sure on the left side. I think I got one on the right, so I want to get that. And then let's see what we got in here. Okay, this for sure is the, yeah, this is the insulation piece off the bottom door. So they wrapped it up really nice. So I'll get that in there for sure. So everything came as expected. I think that's it. I think that's all I really needed. Weird thing is, now that I think about it, the front door doesn't use this. It uses those thin black ones, as far as I remember. You know what? I'm going to crack the door right now while it's running, and we're going to look. It doesn't use a rope. Which, maybe they're going to that now, I don't know. But that isn't going to work. Absolutely not. Unless I haven't really paid attention to the door, but assuming it's in a burn cycle. I mean, I can't put that on here. There's no way the door would even think about shutting. Let's take a look. Okay, she's in a burn cycle. Yeah, so my door uses this little strip. And I think the gasket's fine, but you know, that's where the union is. The bottom looks okay. Look at that roaring fire. Holy smokes. So I don't know. You know, when you think you order, you get something that you need, and that's wrong. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. I mean, that's like a traditional boiler type gasket. But whatever, I'll address that with them. So I did get, like I said, all those other fittings at the local hardware store yesterday. I didn't get all the fittings that I needed. I got what I think I needed for now. So, you know, all these new fittings, like something like this that goes on the copper, you know, you put the PEX over it, you cinch it on there kind of deal. So I spent another couple $100 yesterday to change out fittings. So I'm going to have to turn this loop off. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do, but I need to turn it off, shut the valves. I'm going to lose probably a couple gallons of water. I'll collect that in the jugs. I'm not going to reuse it, but I'll collect it. We're supposed to get up to a foot of snow, not tomorrow, starting tomorrow night. And I still have to get all that original snow off the driveway because it's almost a sheet of ice right now. And I want to make sure this is up and running and good to go before we get all that snow, and then I'm stuck with a foot of snow. I got a busy day tomorrow, and I got to get going on this. So there's a lot of fittings I got to do. I got to address that. It sucks because if anyone you guys know that work with, you know, plumbing stuff, shark bite fittings ain't cheap at all. What I just spent on all the fittings I just bought yesterday is a fraction of what I would have spent on all those fittings. So if I would have known that, I wouldn't have done those. I thought they were easy. They look nice, you know, whatever, they work. They work when it's up to temp, but I guess when it cools down, it's not good. So I didn't know that. It is what it is. I'm assuming that's why some of them leak. Now, I do have a couple on my snow melt system here. So if I had to address that and change those out, I can do that. There isn't many on here, so I can change those if need be. I'm really hoping I don't have to. The only reason I don't think I have to is because this does not get up to 180 degrees. Doesn't even come close. The only ones that do are off the heat exchanger there going into the system. But obviously, it cools down before it comes back. So this loop here never gets above, I want to say I have it set to like 87 or so. I don't really remember, but I think it's around that. So, you know, right now it's probably 60 some degrees because that's what the temperature is in here. So it cools down to, you know, could be 10, 20 degrees, but then it goes back up to 70. So there isn't much temperature change versus 180 up to or down to, or 185 down to, you know, what it was, 70 degrees. And that's, I'm assuming that's why they leaked. I don't think that'll be an issue with these other fittings. It better not be, because I have a lot to change. I got to solder stuff up there on the copper, which that's not going to be fun. I'm definitely not looking forward to that at all. So, and I got ones up above I got to do. Copper off of the thermal tank I got to change, and I'm just looking from here. There's 2 fittings on every single one, so more soldering to do, whatever. It's not that hard, but and pray all my other fittings hold up when I turn this back on. So yeah, so kind of a, you know, another thing I wanted to address, somebody made a comment why I chose HeatMaster over all the other brands. I guess I know I've addressed this in previous videos, but I'll address it again. Number one, to me, the dealer is within an hour-and-a-half drive, maybe 2 hours. But that's not the biggest reason. That's one of the main reasons. So out of all the research I've done, I'm not going to name the other brands. We all know the big name ones, even the smaller ones, whatever. To me, this is my personal opinion, is that the ease of cleaning, okay? All I have to do on a normal basis is shake the turbulators, clean out the refractory on the bottom. That's it, okay? Now that's easy. That's virtually no difference than having a wood stove and cleaning out the ash, right? It takes me less than 5 minutes to do the refractory. Now, obviously, as you guys have been following along, you know that you have to, once, twice a year, depending on how much you burn, take the panels off on the inside, the top air intakes, clean the air channels, take the dampers off, bottom and top, clean those air channels. It's not the funnest process, but you know, once you do it the first time, it actually isn't that bad if you do it again. So, but that's with any outdoor furnace. There's always that kind of cleaning and maintenance. So to me, I was doing research on outdoor boilers, gasification units per, you know, that they had to me the simplest cleaning, and that's kind of what I wanted. I liked how they looked. Yes, they don't, you know, it's not the easiest to do the, you know, monitoring it from your phone kind of deal, but you can do that. I do that. I know when I was getting started, I wanted to see what it was doing at all times. You know, when something's new to you, you kind of, I think you might overthink it, and you got to know what it's doing at all times. But after a couple months, you know, you got it down to a science. Yeah, that's a learning curve. You throw wood in it, you walk away, and you're good. And 12 hours later, you come back and do it again. And I think anybody who owns a HeatMaster G series will tell you the same thing. Once you get the little bit of a learning curve down, you're good to go. Versus a traditional outdoor boiler, yeah, I mean, as long as they're back, whether there's a fan or not, or a natural draft, as long as that air channel is clean, there's just usually just a damper plate that opens to let air in. The fan turns on if it has one, and it closes, and you just have the stack to clean and maybe a little bit of creosote on the doors. Very easy. Throw wood in, walk away kind of deal. But to me, I wanted to be way more efficient. If you've been following along, you know I heat this shop that I'm in that's right now 65 degrees. The shop next door, my kiln, snow melt system, my 3,000 square foot house, the attached garage, the hot water. I'm heating a lot. And if I heat it all at once, I'm telling you right now, there is no outdoor boiler, maybe the biggest one, you know, like the HeatMaster C800, that's technically, you know, it's virtually double what this is, supposedly, what the BTU it can put out would be able to handle that. The reason I say it is the recovery rate. You know, I know some people may have a big boiler with twice the amount of water, but it's the recovery rate. How fast can you get the water to come back up? I know I'm kind of going into bigger detail here, but that's why I went with a gasification unit. I wanted to be able to heat the holding tank, I guess you could say, on the boiler faster to get it, you know, then that's why they have the BTU rating that they have, to be able to heat everything that I'm doing, which is a lot. Besides the kiln, that was not an after fact, but I knew eventually I was going to build that and do that because that's part of my business and da-da-da-da. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the reasons why I chose the HeatMaster G10,000. Does the average person need that 10,000? Absolutely not. I think the 7,000 is probably overkill for most people. The 4,000 is perfect if you're just doing your home and hot water, maybe a smaller, you know, like mine, attached garage. That's all you really need. I always go overboard with everything I do, and I everything that I buy, I put to its limits. That's just kind of what I do with everything I own, whether it's my lift, my boat, my chipper, my trucks, my trailers. They're always put to the max, and I think every manufacturer knows that. That's just kind of how it goes. So just like my system that I developed here, my snow melt system, I designed all this. I did all the pumps, the heat exchanger on it. You know, maybe that's my fault of why these fittings are leaking. I don't know. But, you know, you live and you learn. It's not the end of the... It did work last year for whatever reason. Never had an issue, never not one drop, but now I do. So I'm going to address that and I'll fix it, and you live and you learn and move forward, you know. It's not the last system I'm going to design. My driveway is a 1/4 mile long, and eventually I'm going to redo the whole thing. It's all going to be heated, and, you know, my next shop that I'm going to build, yes, I'm building another one eventually for my processor. That'll be heated. My new Deere stand I'm going to build next door, if you've been following along, that's going to be heated. So there's plenty of stuff that this boiler is going to get put to work. And, you know, if you had a traditional outdoor boiler, the amount of wood that I would go through would be, you'd be a slave to that unit. I know that for a fact. So, but anyways, that's kind of why I chose that. So hopefully that answers the question for you of why I chose the unit that I chose. No, there's no hard feelings or anything towards the other brands out there. Everybody makes a good product nowadays. I don't care what you say. You know, it's just like Chevy versus Ford or Dodge. Everybody makes a good truck. You know, I'm hardcore GMC or Chevy. I've been like that my whole life. Doesn't mean Ford doesn't make a good truck. It doesn't mean Dodge doesn't either. Everybody knows they make good stuff. That's just, you know, kind of in comparison. Just like, you know, Central Boiler, they make a great unit, you know. I mean, they're normal boilers to their gasification units. I know a couple guys that have the Central Boiler units and they love them. You know, good for you. That's great. You know, to each their own. Buy what you want to buy, you know. There's flaws to every system and how they work, you know, whether it's the electronics or the way their downdraft setup is or whatever. So, you know, you can nitpick all that, you know, it's to each their own. So people could, you know, say what they want to say about how I have my setup, you know, and to be honest, I don't care. It works for me. I have no issues with it. I burn a fraction of the wood probably everybody else does. So, you know, I don't want to hear it. If you guys want to argue between each other, go for it. It doesn't affect me. So what I built works, and it's going to continue to work. So, how's it going, bud? Good. I'm almost done. Okay? I'll play with you in a second. All right? Oh, how about this? We're almost done. So, but as always, guys, let me know what your questions are, concerns. I'll address those again. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and commenting. As you can tell, I do comment. I try to comment back as fast as I can if I'm available. So, and I do appreciate it. And as always,
keep burning.
All right, bud.